now Monday, April 12th. It is, I think, 8 p.m. Yes, it's 8 p.m. today, starting from this morning. Well, actually, starting from this weekend. So today is Monday. I haven't filmed for the past few days because over the weekend, my best friend Emma from her Instagram, Emma Redwood, came over and we had a really fun sleepover, and it was basically just 2 days full of book shopping. That was pretty much it. I just love her very much, so that was wonderful. And then today I had my one of my classes, and that went well, and then I've been working on my Red Rabbit painting, which I can include a little, yes, I will include a little clip of him. He's coming out exactly how I wanted him to, so that's so exciting. While I was painting my Red Rabbit, I was FaceTiming my amazing friend Sarah from her YouTube channel, Sarah's Perusals. I love her oh so much, and she so sweetly was reading me the Anna Karenina introduction, and it was wonderful. So she was reading me the introduction while I was painting, and it was so relaxing, and then we would just talk about different bookish things, and it was wonderful. So if you guys don't follow Sarah's YouTube channel, I highly recommend you subscribe to her channel, because her videos are amazing and she's so funny. She always makes me laugh and brightens my day. So I feel like if you would like my videos, you'd probably like her videos too. So yes, just a little shout out to Emma and Sarah. Love them both so much. So now I thought I would give you guys an update of War and Peace, because I am 264 pages through, and I have so much that I want to say. Today I did upload my first vlog starring me and War and Peace. So I think what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to update you guys, refer to some quotes that I've saved, talk about certain parts that I'm really loving, and basically just gush about this book, because that's what we're here for. So I think the place that I want to start at the very beginning, as Julie Andrews would say. Okay, or better known as Sister Maria. Okay, we are going to start with one of my favorite scenes. Okay, so something that I love, so many things. I feel like I always say something that I love about Tolstoy like a million times. Anyway, okay, one of my favorite things about Tolstoy is the way that he introduces characters and the way that he describes characters, and the imagery that he provides the reader is incredible. I always say the word incredible. Count how many times I say the word incredible. You will lose count. Okay, so this is on page 10 of book 1, part 1, and we are getting the introduction to one of the main characters, Pierre. In War and Peace, we have pretty much 3 main characters. One is Pierre, one is Andre, and one is Natasha. And so this is Pierre's introduction, and I just love it. One of the next arrivals was a stout, heavily built young man with close-cropped hair, spectacles, the light-colored breeches fashionable at that time, a very high, ruffled, and brown dress coat. The stout young man was an illegitimate son of Count Bezúkhov, a well-known grandee of Catherine the Great's time, who now lay dying in Moscow. The young man had not yet entered either the military or civil service, as he had only just returned from abroad where he had been educated, and this was his first appearance in society. Anna Pavlovna greeted him with the nod she accorded to the lowest hierarchy in her drawing-room. But in spite of this lowest-grade greeting, a look of anxiety and fear, as at the sight of something too large and unsuited to the place, came over her face when she saw Pierre enter. Though he was certainly rather bigger than the other men in the room, her anxiety could only have reference to the clever, though shy, but observant and natural expression which distinguished him from everyone else in that drawing-room. Is that not gorgeous? Is that not absolutely beautiful? I love how he shows you how ill-suited, and he tells you how ill-suited Pierre is to this high society. He's this clumsy, excited, naive young man, a boy really, and he is, you know, finally coming away from his education back to Moscow and Petersburg, the high society, and it's kind of showing you how eager he is to be in this lifestyle, but also how he doesn't really fit in quite yet. And something that I love is how Anna Pavlovna is this elitist socialite, and she kind of sees this quality in Pierre and is very anxious and unnerved by him, and I really, really like the juxtaposition of the two characters. I think it's really interesting. The way that he introduces a character, he's just like painting them right before you, and then when the painting is complete, the character comes out of the painting and alive and like shakes your hand, and that's how it feels when reading Tolstoy. Is like I'm really meeting them. And then we have on page 15, the love of my life, also known as Prince Andrei Bolkonsky. He is then introduced. So we start the novel in this reception that Anna Pavlovna is hosting, and so we're being introduced to essentially the main characters besides Natasha and the Rostov family, but we're getting introduced to all these characters, and it's like Tolstoy is giving us this wide panoramic view of what's going on, and he's really putting us in the setting, putting us in this big reception room and sort of scanning one by one and introducing us. It's kind of like he's taking us by the hand and pulling you around the room and introducing the reader to each character. And it's just so wonderful. So then we get introduced to Andrei, and it says, "Then another visitor entered the drawing room. Prince Andrei Bolkonsky, the little princess's husband. He was a very handsome young man of medium height, with firm, clear-cut features. Everything about him, from his wary, bored expression to his quiet, measured step, offered a most striking contrast to his lively little wife. It was evident that he not only knew everyone in the drawing-room, but had found them so tiresome that it wearied him to look at or even listen to them. And among all these faces that he found so tedious, none seemed to bore him so much as that of his pretty wife. He turned away from her with a grimace that distorted his handsome face, kissed Anna Pavlovna's hand, and screwed up his eyes, scanned the whole company." So I find it really interesting because we get introduced to Andrei as this handsome, brooding character, and I've heard a lot of Tolstoy scholars or just people talking about War and Peace describing Andrei as the Mr. Darcy of War and Peace. And I can definitely see that because he is this very quiet, brooding character. And the way he treats his wife is pretty sad, to be honest, and you know, she definitely deserves better, especially because she's such a lovable character, the way that Tolstoy presents her. But I think it really shows that Andrei, and it says later in the book that he's so ill-satisfied with high society and with his wife, in essence, as well. But that's what makes him so real and so complex, is he isn't this perfect character that is completely likable. And when we see how his wife is represented as such a sweetheart, and then how he, you know, treats her pretty poorly, we, in essence, feel adversely to him. But I in a way, I think that makes his character even more vivid and more complex, and I just really like that about him. And I don't like the way he treats his wife. Let me just make that plain and clear. But I do like how complex Tolstoy makes his character. And it's not without reason. Tolstoy's making him that way because we need that character arc. So we are starting at one point only to build from there. So, you know, naturally Andrei is going to go through, as you can see from the many pages, a great change. We can kind of infer that from the very beginning. At the bottom of that page it says, "Prince Andrei screwed up his eyes and turned away. Pierre, who from the moment Prince Andrei entered the room had watched him with glad, affectionate eyes, now came up and took his arm. Before he looked round, Prince Andrei frowned again, expressing his annoyance with whoever was touching his arm, but when he saw Pierre's beaming face, he gave an unexpectedly kind and pleasant smile. 'There now, so you too are out in high society,' said he to Pierre. 'I knew you would be here,' replied Pierre. 'I will come to supper with you. May I?' he added in a low tone, so as not to disturb the Vicomte, who was continuing his story. "No, impossible," said Prince Andrei, laughing and pressing Pierre's hand to show that there was no need to ask the question. And then we get more of Pierre and Andrei's interaction, and they have such a sweet bromance or friendship. I love when they have interactions with one another because they are lifelong friends, and you can kind of see that from that interaction in itself. That's the first interaction that we really get between the two main characters of Pierre and Andrei. And even though Andrei is so tired of everyone else, he isn't tired of Pierre, and I love that. And then on page 22 we have another image of Pierre, and Tolstoy keeps painting him more vividly and more vividly, and it's just so wonderful how he kind of creates more and more of a contrast between Pierre and the other main characters, or the other side characters. Monsieur Pierre, not knowing whom to answer, looked at them all and smiled. His smile was not like the others, verging on a non-smile. When he smiled, his grave, even rather gloomy look was instantaneously replaced by another, a childlike, kindly, even rather silly look, which seemed to ask forgiveness. It's those little things that's such a small description, but it says so much, and we get Pierre's character just through the way that he smiles. It's incredible. It's so incredible. And I love how they always are juxtaposing Pierre's truth with the falsity of high society and the falsity of the other aristocrats. And I think that it's so interesting the way that Tolstoy kind of presents this in a way where he's kind of showing you the falsity of everyone except Pierre. Pierre is really truthful, but that's why he's standing out and why he's really not seeming like he belongs there. And same thing with Andrei as well. It also goes on to the next few pages. This is like the first few pages of this book are just genius. I mean, the whole thing is genius, but I really love these parts. So it says, Pierre was ungainly, stout above the average height, broad, with huge red hands. He did not know, as the saying is, how to enter a drawing-room, and still less how to leave one, that is, how to say something particularly agreeable before going away. Besides this, he was absent-minded. When he rose to go, he took up, instead of his own, the general's three-cornered hat, and held it, pulling at the plume, till the general asked him to restore it. All his absent-mindedness and inability to enter a room and converse in it was, however, redeemed by his kindly, simple, and modest expression. It's showing you that the way his manners speak so loud for his personality and for his character. I like how he describes him as absent-minded and kindly and simple and modest. We get these little adjectives that give us more and more and more to create such a vivid image. And then on page 26, they're asking Pierre if he has decided on a profession yet. And men at that time, as well as women, really didn't have much choice in what they could be, especially people of high society as well as people of low society. But people of wealth didn't really have that many job choices, which I feel like I really didn't realize going in. They could only really go into the military, or it says right here on page 26, one can't everywhere say all one thinks, mon cher. Well, have you at last decided on anything? Are you going to be a guardsman or a diplomatist? Asked Prince Andrei after a momentary silence. Pierre sat up on the sofa with his legs tucked under him. If you believe it, I still don't. I don't like either the one or the other. But you must decide on something. Your father expects it. And so we get that word, you know, that sentence, your father expects it. So that's really our first look into these expectations that Pierre kind of has to fill, as well as a lot of the characters. All the characters have to fill some sort of expectation of what either they, their family, or society wants them or sees them or thinks it's acceptable to do. And then on page 27, one of my favorite lines is, if no one fought except on his own conviction, there would be no war, he said. I love that. I love that so much. And that would be splendid, said Pierre. Prince Andrei smiled ironically. Very well. Likely it would be splendid, but I will never come about. Well, why are you going to war? Asked Pierre. What for? I don't know. I must. Besides that, I'm going. He paused. I am going because the life I am leading here does not suit me. And I just love that because it says so much about Andrei. And he's telling us plain and simple that he's not satisfied with the life that he leads. And I feel like everyone is expected to be satisfied with their life. And so many people, even myself included, we have those moments where you're somewhat ill-satisfied with what you're doing, or maybe what's going on in the world, or you're just kind of wishing for more or wishing to change in some way. And I just feel like it gives Andrei so much depth, and Pierre is very naive and lovable, but I think that Andrei is very deep, and I love a nice deep character. Like I was saying in my last vlog, I think that Pierre and Andrei are a bit of a mix of Levin, like Levin is a mix of both characters. I just really like how they kind of coincide with one another as two very different characters in terms of their personalities, but the way that they interact is really interesting, and how they are such good friends even though they have quite many differences. Oh my gosh, so Andrei and Pierre are talking. I just love this scene so much. It's on page 28, and Pierre goes back home with Andrei, and it says, okay, said the princess in the same capriciously playful tone in which she had spoken to Hippolyte in the drawing room, and which was so plainly ill-suited to the family circle of which Pierre was almost a member. So they're showing you that that the little princess, or I think it's Lise is how you pronounce her name, Elizabeth, it's Andrei's wife, she doesn't really fit in with her own in-laws and her own husband, but Pierre fits in, he's almost a member of the family, showing you the way that the characters kind of feel about one another without really saying it explicitly. And then it also goes on by saying, her husband looked at her as if surprised to notice that someone besides Pierre and himself was in the room, and addressed her in a tone of frigid politeness. And then she asks him on the next page, I have long wanted to ask you, Andrei, why have you changed so to me? What have I done to you? You are going to war and have no pity for me. Why is it? Lise, was all Prince Andrei said, but that one word expressed an entreaty, a threat, and above all conviction that she would herself regret her words. But she went on hurriedly. You treat me like an invalid, or a child. I see it all. Did you behave like that 6 months ago? Lise, I beg you to desist, said Prince Andrei, still more emphatically. Pierre, who had been growing more and more agitated as he listened at all this, rose and approached the princess. He seemed unable to bear the sight of tears, and was ready to cry himself. I love that it's showing Pierre's sweetness, showing Andrei's sternness, and showing Lise's frustration. And rightly so, she should be frustrated, because if I was in her position, I would be frustrated as well. But I think what Tolstoy does so beautifully is no character is good or bad. They have a mix of everything in them, and that's what gives them so much truth. At some points, Lise can somewhat irritate the reader, and Andrei can sometimes frustrate the reader, and Pierre can be almost not too naive, but a little hard-headed. I don't know if hard-headed is the right word, but there's something to look for, a fault in the character that really pushes them forward in the plot, and it's just so wonderful. Another little line on that page is Andrei courteously kissing her hand as he would have done to a stranger. So treating his wife like a stranger, that's just so sad. Pierre continually glanced at Prince Andrei. Prince Andrei rubbed his forehead with his small hand. This is something that we were talking about in the Discord. So if you don't know, we do have a Discord for the Dickens vs. Tolstoy book club. It will be in my description box. And something that people were bringing about in the War and Peace discussion was that Tolstoy always mentions that certain characters' hands are small and white or big and red, and Pierre, I mentioned a quote earlier where he describes Pierre's hands as big and red, and then a lot of the times we get Andre's hands as small and white, as well as some of the other characters in the military with Prince Andre. What I was saying to the people in the Discord, at least how I was reading it, was it's sort of showing you the contrast between these people that belong in, at least for the men with small white hands, those men sort of belonged in polite high society where, you know, you expect them to have hands that don't seem like they've worked very much, or hands that haven't really done anything besides aspects of life in the gentry. And with Pierre's big red hands, you can almost relate that to his not fitting in with that vision of high society. And then these men with the white hands, a lot of them are described, like I said, in the military. They are forced into this brutal war that now they have to get their pristine white small hands dirty with dust and blood and mud, and you know, it's showing you such a great difference between polite society and war, kind of pushing the envelope with that image and showing you how different war and peace really is. I just think it's fantastic. Also, they were saying that they were wondering if Tolstoy had a fascination with hands, and if you don't know, I have a fascination with hands. I think that they're a beautiful way to express emotion. I talk a lot with my hands, and as an artist and as an illustrator, I love expressing a narrative using hands as a means to tell a story, as well as I think Tolstoy did, so that just makes me really happy. On page 32, there's just this really simple line of, "I don't understand," said Prince Andre, and then he repeats it, "I don't understand," showing that the men don't really understand the women, and the women don't really understand the men. And I think that Tolstoy is so fantastic at writing each sex. Like, men and women characters are both very distinct, as well as the children and the adults. They all have very distinct voices, and they all sound very true. None of them seem like this older Russian man, Leo Tolstoy, is writing it as if it was him. He is writing as the characters, and he's really giving them such a true voice. And I wrote in the margins, "The men don't understand the women don't understand the men," sounds familiar, because even today, you know, a lot of people don't understand a lot of others, and it's always that saying of walk in someone else's shoes, and we sort of get to do that as readers. We can walk in so many different types of shoes, and it's really interesting how he can create such reality with the misunderstandings of the characters as well as the understandings. And then we get introduced to Dolokhov, which is just quite the character. We also get introduced to Anatole, who we won't even talk about Anatole. In this scene, it's so funny. They are at Anatole's house, and Dolokhov lives with Anatole, and I don't want to give too much away. Maybe I shouldn't tell you what happens, but it's the window scene. All of them are drunk, and it's just so great. It's so wonderful the way that Tolstoy gives us that moment, and gives us an inside look into these nefarious young men. And then we meet the Rostovs, which is just amazing. One of my favorite characters is the Count. It's Natasha's father, Ilya Rostov, and he is so sweet. He calls everybody mon cher or ma chère, and even if they're not like relatives or close to the family, he calls everybody mon cher, like my darling in French. And he's just such a sweet, loving character, and he's so silly too. They're talking about this one scene with a bear and a policeman and some rope. I won't say too much, but there's a wonderful bear scene that at first I was very confused by, and then I realized what was happening in the scene and started hysterically laughing, where Count Ilya also finds this very funny. And then we get introduced to Natasha, which is just such a gorgeous passage. So it's on chapter 8 of book 1, part 1, and it says, "This dark-eyed, wide-mouthed girl, not pretty, but full of life, with childish bare shoulders, which after her run heaved and shook her bodice, with black curls tossed backwards, thin bare arms, little legs in lace-frilled drawers, and feet in low slippers, was just at that charming age when a girl is no longer a child, though the child is not yet a young woman." We just get this wonderful introduction to Natasha's naive character. Just like Pierre, we sort of get this vivid image of her right away. And then we also get the introduction of Boris and Nikolai. Boris is a family friend of the Rostovs. Nikolai is Natasha's older brother. And it says, "Boris, the officer, Anna Mikhailovna's son, Nikolai, the undergraduate, the Count's eldest son, Sonia, the Count's 15-year-old niece, and little Petya, his youngest boy." So we get introduced to all the children characters found in the Rostov household. And then we get Sonia, who I love so much. Nikolai and Sonia, the niece. Sonia was a slender little brunette with a tender look in her eyes, which she veiled by long lashes, thick black braids coiled twice around her head, and a tawny tint in her complexion, and especially in the color of her slender but graceful and muscular arms and neck. By the grace of her movements, by the softness and flexibility of her small limbs, and by a certain coyness and reserve of manner. And then it goes on and says, her eyes under their thick long lashes watched her cousin, who was going to join the army, with such passionate girlish adoration that her smile could not for a single instant impose upon anyone, and it was clear that the kitten had settled down only to spring up with more energy and again play with her cousin as soon as they two could, like Natasha and Boris, escape from the drawing room. And I just love that. It's so beautiful. So Sonia has this great love for her cousin Nikolai. And I love Nikolai, I love Sonia, I love Natasha. They're all such fantastic characters. My battery is actually going to die soon, so I think I'm going to stop here for now. Keep reading. I want to try to get up to part 3 tonight, which is... oh, book 2 actually is what I mean, and that's page 310. So I think that that's what I'm going to do. I am going to get nice and cozy and keep reading and hopefully reach book 2 or volume 2. And I'm just so excited. But yes, I will definitely keep going back and forth and referencing favorite quotes and things. I would keep going, but again, my battery is dying, so we will talk again very soon. I hope you're enjoying this so far. I'm about to go to bed, but I just had to say, War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy, Book 1, Part 1, the end of Chapter 16. Oh my God. Right in the heart and soul. If you haven't read it, read it. If you have read it, reread it. Amazing. Probably one of my favorite scenes yet. One of my favorite quotes yet. War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy, Book 1, Part 1, Chapter 16. Now I'm going to go to bed. Good night. Hello everybody, it is now April 14th, it is Wednesday, and it is the evening. What time is it? It's almost 9 o'clock, and I have just been doing schoolwork all day because I feel like I'm a broken record. All I say is I've been doing schoolwork all day, but that's basically what my life consists of right now. My senior show is coming up soon, so I am just doing a lot of work and a lot of different things that I have to figure out in time for the senior show and also just for my classes in general. If you don't know, if you're new here, hello, my name's Carolyn. I am an illustration major and an English writing minor at my college. It's the Fashion Institute of Technology in New York City, but I am on Long Island because all of my classes are online, which is fine. It's going pretty well, but I have just been so busy, and I have been prioritizing my schoolwork because I have to, but I've also been making sure that I read at least a little bit of War and Peace every day. And last time I talked to you guys, I mentioned Book 1, Part 1, Chapter 16, which was just, I think, one of my favorite scenes yet in the book. And then since then, I am on, now, I forgot to tell you guys, I made it to Book 2. So this book is broken up into 4 books and 2 epilogues. And I am now on Book 2, which is broken up into 5 parts. So I'm just on Part 1 of Book 2. Oh my goodness, I want to punch one character right in the face. And I want to give another character a very big hug because the poor guy just needs it. So much has happened, but I don't want to babble through this. I kind of don't want to give too much away in case you're watching this and you've never read War and Peace. Before I talk about War and Peace a bit more, I wanted to show you guys what I have been working on for my university. And if you have been following along on my Instagram, then you will know all of this already. But if you haven't, I will just explain myself really quickly. So, since I'm an illustration major, my passion and my desire is to become a book designer and a book illustrator. And for my thesis, I have done book covers and book jackets. And for the past 2, I did one embroidered, which you guys have most likely seen because I've showed it on my channel. It's for an Anne of Green Gables. It's fully embroidered. And then my other one was fully digital. It is Pride and Prejudice, which I don't think I have shown you guys. So I will put it on the screen. And I also did the same design. I kind of envisioned it to be in a series of Jane Austen's Emma. So I did it fully monochrome, doing blues for Pride and Prejudice and pinks for the Emma cover. And I feel like I picked those colors because I feel like Emma is full of love and passion and romance, and so of course pink. And then for Pride and Prejudice, I feel like there's this mood and calm quality to the book that I feel like blue really gives off. So that's why I picked those books, as well as the whole concept behind my Pride and Prejudice and Emma design is that I wanted the main characters to interact with a famous work of art, particularly sculptures, and it kind of tells the story through a visual narrative without saying too much. And it has the main female protagonist on the front and then the male protagonist on the back. So when you flip the book over, it adds a bit more to the storytelling, as well as my author portraits of Jane Austen and the 2 characters, how I visualize them on the flaps. And without rambling on and on, that's just a little explanation about those. But now the one that I'm working on, which is, so those other 2 are most likely going to be in the senior show, and the one that I'm going to show you now, I have till the 21st, or till the 28th really is the last day, but then the 21st is the first day that we can upload our work. The one that I'm working on right now is definitely going to be in the senior show, and I'm so excited about it. Okay, here comes story time of explaining this cover for you guys. So I'm doing a book cover for Alice in Wonderland. And why I'm doing a book cover for Alice in Wonderland is because for not my thesis class, but I'm taking a separate painting class, that one my professor wanted us to do anthropomorphic portraits of animals, anthropomorphic meaning animals having a human quality to them. And I was thinking, okay, what classic books can I do a cover for that have anthropomorphic animal characters? And I thought of The White Rabbit in Alice in Wonderland, as well as a lot of other animals in Alice in Wonderland. And there are so many that I was choosing from, but I was really excited about doing Alice. And which, funnily enough, Alice in Wonderland isn't even one of my favorite books. I mean, I love it and I respect it for what it is, because I think Lewis Carroll just created this incredible, bizarre, weird, wonderful world. But for me personally, it isn't like a favorite book of mine, but I love it conceptually. Anyway, so I picked the White Rabbit for my design, and I was thinking about trying to make it bizarre, giving it that Lewis Carroll feel, making it feel like Alice in Wonderland while also feeling like a vintage portrait. So it went through many stages. If you go on my Instagram, I have a story highlight titled Red Rabbit, and you can see the whole process from digital sketch to me in the process of painting it currently. And I was deciding between what eye color I should make him and what jacket color I should give him, and it was a whole thing. I did a poll and everybody was divided. Got so many messages saying yellow, blue, and I was 50-50 the whole time. I didn't know what color I should make it, but I finally decided. I painted all the other elements of the piece to figure out what color I think would suit the whole composition, and I think the choice that I made was the right choice, and I'm really excited about it, and I'm so excited to show you guys. I still have quite a bit more painting to do, but most of the base colors are down, some of the details are down, so I will just show you guys. I have it right here on the floor next to me. So the concept of this design is I wanted the White Rabbit to not be the White Rabbit. I wanted it to be the White Rabbit, but I wanted to put a spin on it. So I was thinking, well, it's a white rabbit, and in the Red Queen's garden, they have planted white roses, and she has them physically painted red. And I just love that visual. I think that that's such a great idea of, you know, they planted the wrong roses. I just love that concept of them painting it. I think it's such a great visual. And I thought, what if the White Rabbit painted himself red to kind of blend in, or to not be spotted, or to spy on the Red Queen, or for whatever reasons maybe he wanted to sneak around her palace undetected. So instead of being a white rabbit, I made him a red rabbit, and he is holding a paintbrush and he has his pocket watch, and I decided to make the color of his jacket blue! I am really excited about it, and I hope you guys like it too. So as you can see, there's an, I don't know if you can see, there's an oval around him. The outside of the oval is going to match the dark green color of his bow tie, and then it's going to kind of look like, here, I'll put up a picture of what I imagined the cover to look like. But for now, I have to add a few more of the details to his jacket and to the bow tie, and a few other things. I have to finish the pocket watch, finish the brush, color in the background. The background is going to be a similar color as to the canvas, or the board. This isn't a canvas, this is a gesso board. I'm just so happy with how it came out. I think I'm going to add a few more white hairs so that it's a bit more obvious that he painted himself red. I mean, there is red paint on the end of his paintbrushes, so you can kind of infer he painted himself red. But I also put some red shadowing on his white shirt, and I made his eye white and blue because I thought it made it a bit more bizarre and creepy, kind of giving him like a human looking eye. I thought it would add to the Lewis Carroll Alice in Wonderland quality of the piece, and I'm just incredibly excited about it. And I have my painting class tomorrow all day long, so I'm going to be painting this tomorrow all day long. And weird story, if you follow me on Instagram, again, you would have seen this already, but I'm going to tell you anyway. My sister has Sims, I think it's The Sims 4, and we were playing it last night, and my Sim, so I have a Sim that my sister made for me, so we always play it whenever I go over. And we had my Sim, her job was, she was an author, and that was fun for a while, but then I thought, hey, let's change it up, make it more fun. Let's make her a painter, so it's more real, true to life. I am a writer as well, but I'm not obviously published. So I thought, you know what, I'm already an artist. Let's make her an artist, more realistic. So we made her a whole art room. We even gave her a gallery wall and bookshelves and a desk and a green chair, so it's exactly like, and a rug, so it's exactly like this room. And she painted her first painting, and I filmed it because I thought, oh, let's film the experience. I wonder what she's gonna paint. So you get a canvas and the sim paints, and you can see whatever they paint. She painted, I will just put a picture up of what she painted. A pink rabbit was the first painting she ever did. She ever did. Is that not terrifying? Is that not terrifying? Big brother, I see you. Wherever you are, I see you. Isn't that creepy? My sister and I like freaked out because how weird is that? Yesterday, all day long, I painted the red rabbit, or pinkish. She looks kind of pink. And then my sim, last night, after I spent the whole day painting, painted a pink rabbit. That's just weird. Anyway, I keep rambling on, I hope you don't mind. The red rabbit has really been taking up a lot of my time, and yeah. Yep. So I think my plan is for tonight, since I have been just so busy and doing so much schoolwork, I feel like I'm going to read a bit later, but for now I think I'm going to watch a movie. The movie that I'm going to watch, and then I'm going to read War and Peace. But the movie that I'm going to watch before I read War and Peace, I have read a little bit today, but I want to read a little bit more. Anyway, the movie that I'm going to watch is the 1956 War and Peace with Audrey Hepburn and Mel, what's his last name? Mel Ferrer and Henry Fonda. Such great actors. And this is directed by King Vidor, and Audrey Hepburn's my favorite actress. I really love old movies. Of course, I have to watch the War and Peace adaptation. That's my little update for now. I will let you know how I like the 1956 adaptation of War and Peace. I have a feeling I'm going to love it because it's Audrey Hepburn, and every picture I see, every still frame I see from that movie, I just want to cry because it's so beautiful. Hello, I am back. It is now 11:30, and I think I'm going to read for a little bit before I go to bed. I watched about an hour of the movie, and I just watched up to the part that I have read. And I'm really liking it. It's a beautiful film, but very different from the book. They changed quite a bit of it, which I was surprised at, but also not, because with the BBC miniseries, they were able to put a lot of, or most of the scenes in, I feel like you're getting a glare on my glasses. They were able to put most of the scenes because it was a miniseries, so they could include a lot more of it. This is just a 3.5-hour movie, and it's beautifully done. I love older films. They have just such a magical and charming quality to them. I feel like I should talk about some of my favorite movies more, like my favorite older movies. There are so many. Audrey Hepburn's filmography is just exquisite. But she does an amazing job playing Natasha. She just exudes happiness, and just watching her makes you smile, makes me smile. Like, she's just an incredibly beautiful woman, just as an actress and as a person. She's just so admirable. I have actually read a biography about her, which I should talk about more, but it was amazing. She led such an unbelievable life, especially before she became an actress. She lived through World War II, and just an incredible life. Anyway, so just because I don't want to babble on, I want to get reading. I'm going to continue reading War and Peace, obviously. What other book would I be reading? And I'm so excited. Yeah, so then after I'm done reading, I think I will go to bed, have classes tomorrow, and then pick back up with more reading, because that's what I've been doing. All I have to say is, poor Pierre. He just well, the narrator just says, Pierre was one of those people who, in spite of an appearance of what is called weak character, do not seek a confidant in their troubles. He digests his sufferings alone. That's just so sad. Every time I read about Pierre, I just want to give him a hug. I feel so bad. I feel so bad for what he's going through. Giving Pierre a nice big hug. This scene is so incredible. Like this passage that I'm reading currently, from when I started reading to now, just so much is happening. I keep highlighting like entire pages, and I'm like, this is a bit ridiculous, Carolyn, you're just gonna highlight the whole book, but then again, I can buy more highlighters. Okay, I am about to go to bed, but I just read such a sweet scene, and I think I want to read a little bit of it. So it is a spoiler, so I'm holding up my Leo card, and come back when he is down. It's the scene where Andre's family doesn't know if he's alive or dead, and his wife starts to give birth to their baby. The nanny looks out of the window and says that someone's there, and they think it's the doctor. And so Maria goes out to receive the doctor, but it's not the doctor. Still lower, beyond the turn of the staircase, one could hear the footstep of someone in thick felt boots, and a voice that seemed familiar to Princess Maria was saying something. "Thank God," said the voice. "And the master?" "Lay down to rest," replied the voice of Demian, the house steward, who was downstairs. Then the voice said something more. Demian replied, and the steps in the felt boots approached the unseen bend of the staircase more rapidly. "It's Andre," thought Princess Maria. "No, it can be. That would be too extraordinary." And at the very moment she thought this, the face and figure of Prince Andre, in a fur cloak, the deep collar of which was covered with snow, appeared on the landing where the footman stood with the candle. Yes, it was he, pale, thin, with a changed and strangely softened but agitated expression on his face. He came up the stairs and embraced his sister. "You did not get my letter?" he asked, and not waiting for a reply, which he would not have received, for the princess was unable to speak, he turned back, rapidly mounted the stairs again with the doctor, who had entered the hall after him. They had met at the last post station, and again embraced his sister. "What a strange fate, Masha darling." And having taken off his cloak and felt boots, he went to the little princess's apartment. It was Andre. He was alive. Oh my gosh. Of course, as the reader, we know that, but the way that Princess Maria finds out that it's Andre is just so sweet. And I love the part where it says, I just took my glasses off, where it says, "For the princess was unable to speak." He wouldn't get a response, for she was unable to speak. It's just so sweet. So that is a wonderful place to leave off on. So I'm going to stop there for tonight. You can come back. Okay. So that was a great place to leave off. That was the end of chapter 8 of book 2, part 1, for reference. And right now I'm on page 350. So I think I am going to go to bed because I'm very tired now. And I will talk to you guys tomorrow. everybody, and happy Sunday, May 9th. How did we get such a big time jump? That is because I have been filming, but I thought I was editing this video and it's getting a bit long, so I thought I would stop it here, film a little outro clip for you guys, and just talk about what's been going on, because I feel like I haven't been very active lately, and that is because today's Sunday, but this week coming up is my last full week of university ever, and then I graduate, and then I'm an adult, and I'm done, and I am scared, but very, very excited. So I have been just so busy finishing up all of my projects. I am an illustration major, so I am getting my bachelor's in fine arts in illustration and my minor in writing, and I am just so happy with how my college career has ended, and it's been such an incredible experience, and it's really been very surreal. Today is actually Mother's Day as well, so it is nighttime now. I was just finishing up some stuff that I had to do before school tomorrow, but I had a wonderful day with my family, which that was nice. But yeah, besides that, I've just been trying to take some time to myself, really like reflect on life and sort of take it all in, and so yeah, I haven't been posting as much as I normally do. I think that's just because I've sort of been feeling a little, not overwhelmed, well yeah, I guess a little overwhelmed, but in a good way, in a sense. So yeah, I finished up all of my assignments. I wrote down on my phone, I always write down my homework and everything, and I was like done with like all of my classes, which is just insane. So a lot of the stuff that I am doing this coming week is just critiques and discussions and submitting final work, so craziness. I did want to send a really big thank you talking about graduation. My amazing friend Sarah from her YouTube channel, Sarah's Perusals, sent me a little graduation card with the sweetest note, and she also sent me this bookmark of Van Gogh, which is double-sided, and I have seen these bookmarks. She's posted a few pictures of them, and I have been like obsessed with them ever since I saw her post about them. So she sent one to me, and that just means the world to me. So thank you so much, Sarah. I already thanked you, but I want to thank you in a video talking about graduation. I thought that would be fitting. And then I also got two other things in my P.O. box, which I just wanted to do a quick shout out. One is from Jerry, and he sent me the sweetest, here let me open it so I can show you guys. Okay, so Jerry sent me this really lovely handwritten note and also this incredible bookmark which says just one more chapter, and it has Anna Karenina, Great Expectations, and War and Peace on it with a little cat sitting on top. It's just the cutest thing, and it's such a beautiful bookmark, so thank you so much, Jerry. This means the world to me, and your note warmed my heart immensely. And then, so I got that in my P.O. box just saying thank you to everybody. And then I got the sweetest note from a wonderful girl named Zoe, and I can't wait to write you a letter back, Zoe, but she sent me the sweetest, like, 3-page letter, which just, like, I was reading it in the car and I started crying because it was just the sweetest thing ever. And she wrote me a little thank you, Carolyn note, and she gave me these adorable sticky notes, which like birds on them. It's just so perfect. And I just want to say a really, really big thank you to all of you guys who have been so supportive, and I can't imagine graduating without you guys, because I sort of feel like you're part of my support system in a way. I just get so much kindness from you guys, and I really don't know how to repay you. It means the world to me, so all I can really just say is like thank you so much, and you guys mean the world to me, and your kindness just baffles me. So I really appreciate you guys very, very much, especially in this time in my life where there's just a lot of change and a lot of things ending and also beginning, and so I'm just feeling a little overwhelmed with gratitude and just a million different emotions. Something else that I have on my desk here is another gift that I got in my P.O. box. This is from an amazing girl named Alexandra, and she sent me a book, and I have been wanting a book like this for so long, but I just like never found one that I liked, or never found one in the US. And it is the Russian edition, the bag just fell, the Russian edition of Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. And it's like this gorgeous hardback. Look at this book. Oh my goodness, can a book be this beautiful? And then the inside is Russian. Oh my gosh, if I ever learn Russian, then I will be able to read this book. But just like looking at this and thinking, these are Tolstoy's actual words, like these are the words that he put himself on the page. And because obviously translations is never the authentic real thing, and you know, this is, so this means the world to me. So thank you so much, Alexandra, and your note just meant so much to me. And now I have the Russian edition to add to my ever-growing Anna Karenina collection. I want like every single edition of that book ever, and so this, just having you fuel that and helping me grow my collection means the world to me. So thank you so much. Speaking of Tolstoy, I will close out by talking about War and Peace. I am now up to page 800, which is book 3, part 2, chapter 17, and I have slowly been reading a few chapters every day just because with all my finals and everything I haven't had as much time as I would like to read, but I have been absolutely adoring this book. There is so much that I want to talk about, but that will be in my next War and Peace reading vlog because this one, like I said, is already pretty long, but I just wanted to tell you guys that this book is just blowing my mind. I feel like every time I read another chapter, I think that it can't get better, and it gets better, and it's just mind-blowing. So yes, these are all of my annotations. I've gotten a lot of questions about how I annotate or how I'm specifically annotating War and Peace, so hopefully once I graduate and I have a bunch of time to film, I'm going to be filming a whole updated how I annotate video, and also how I read books, not just to read them, but to take them in and absorb them and analyze them and sort of remember what you read and have what you read really stick with you and stay with you, because I feel like that's a very important aspect of reading, is to not just read to finish a book, but to read to experience the actual book. So yes, absolutely adoring it. These pink tabs are parts that I'm like, they're like my favorite parts, and there have been many specifically in this section of the book. I think that was part 3. Book 2, part 3, yeah. So you guys will have to wait for the next installment of my War and Peace vlogs to hear me talk a bit more about that. But I thought I would just close out this vlog here. Thank you guys so much, seriously, for everything. Just everything under the sun, thank you. And I hope you're doing amazingly well. If you are reading War and Peace, tell me how you're feeling about it, tell me how you're liking it, and let me know how you guys are doing. I hope you guys are doing really well, and what books are you reading? If you're not reading War and Peace, are you reading anything noteworthy? I would love to know, and I hope you are just doing very well. So I will see you guys soon in another video. Thank you so much for everything you do, and happy reading.